Hey, good morning, girl. So today is the 27th of February 2019, and it is raining this morning. And I'm so happy that it's getting brighter in the mornings. The sun is coming up. I'm noticing the sunrise in the early mornings, the sunlight streaming through my blinds here in my living room. I'm really glad to see it. And I'm also glad to notice that there is warming occurring in our quaint city here at Lompoc, California. It's getting a little warmer as the days go on, and the highs are getting slightly warmer, and I'm glad for it. Though it's still raining a lot, and as these seasons change, I just become more and more grateful for the sunlight and more grateful for the warmth of the day. And I'm really impressed about all the rain that's been going on. It's been going on for like 3 or 4 weeks now. Regular rains, every 1 or 2 days. And these rainy periods have been going on for, they go on for hours, 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. And I'm really glad for it. It means that there's going to be a lot of water in the ground. And I know the Chumash Reservoir is like 61% filled. I think at its worst during the drought a couple years ago, Chumash, not Chumash, but not Chumash, the lake, Kachuma Lake was like down to like 8% filled, and now it's like 61% filled. So, so glad to have that reservoir or that lake anyway, partially full. That's pretty high. 61% is pretty high, and I expect it'll be even higher. It's raining right now, and I remember one day it increased in percentage filled by like, I don't know, 7% in one day. I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. That's fast. So I'm glad about it. What's kind of interesting too is I'm connecting on Facebook with some friends of mine in New Mexico and relatives too. I have a relative, my cousin Lydia Trujillo, and she's contacted me on Facebook, and I'm so pleased by it. And I've known this lady since she was a baby. And now she must be, 35 years old. And I think she's married. She may even have children. I've not been keeping tabs on her. And so I'm kind of curious about what her life is like. Turns out, I think she may be a Jehovah's Witness still. So that's interesting. Maybe I'll go and visit her this coming Mother's Day when I typically go to Albuquerque, New Mexico and visit my family. Speaking of going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, I've got my 30-year high school reunion coming up. And it's going to be, I think it's the 10th of August, 2019. So I'm definitely going to be going to my high school reunion, my 30-year high school reunion. That is totally cool. I can't believe 30 years has already passed. I think I went to the 10-year, I went to the 20-year, and then there's a 30-year. I can't believe it's been 30 years since I've graduated high school. It seems like the time goes by faster as I get older. Before I know it's going to be 40 years since I've graduated high school. I can't believe it. Well, anyway, it's just 30 years now, so let's settle down. Let's not get too excited. It's just 30 years. 30 years since I graduated high school. Now I'm still in school. That's, I think, an important point to consider. I'm still going to school. I've got, in fact, my class tonight. I've got a welding class, gas metal arc welding. I'll be doing GMA welding for the first time tonight. Gas metal arc welding. I'm pretty excited about that. I've got some of my PPE ready to go. Some of it. I want to get some um, earmuffs, earmuffs to drown out the sound of the arc sparking across the gap. Um, I'm going to be listening to that for 3 hours, 4 hours while I'm practicing my welding, and I don't necessarily want to have that crackling noise continuously in my mind as I'm working on my welding. I'm weak. I recognize that. I also want to protect my hearing. And so I think I'm probably going to go to the store and get some noise reduction earmuffs. Yeah, they shouldn't be all that expensive, maybe $20. Worth it to me. And let's see what else is going on with me right now. So yeah, I'm thinking about my trip to Albuquerque, New Mexico. My 2 trips. I'm going to take a trip in May. I'm going to take a trip in August. So there's going to be a lot of travel in my life in 2019 because I also know that I'm going to family camp in July. I've invited you and your mom and your stepdad, and I'm hopeful. I've got my fingers crossed that you'll be able to attend. And so that's cool. I sent some information to your mom a couple days ago via email, and I hope she reviews that information and makes a positive judgment and decides to come along with us or come along with me. I think it'd be fun. This will be the third year I've been to family camp, and totally worth it. It's tons of family fun. We're going to be singing songs around the campfire, and there's volleyball and basketball, and there's swimming, and people hang out in tents, and there's food produced by the cooks. So it's in the kitchen, and so it's just a fantastic opportunity to get together with people and just build community. So that's fantastic. So all kinds of amazing things are happening. And something I haven't mentioned is that tomorrow I'm going to go to Allen Hancock College to the Marion Theater, and I'm going to go to a debate about artificial intelligence technology. There are going to be 2 Cal Poly professors who are going to be debating tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. at Allen Hancock College in Santa Maria at the Marion Theater. And I've got a chance to check it out. It only costs $5. I definitely want to go. Hey, Em, if you want to go, let me know. Send me a text. I'll give you transportation there. I'll pay for your admission. It sounds like a fun night. And I'm also kind of interested to see who shows up at the debate too. Artificial intelligence is going to be so much a part of our life in the future. In fact, artificial intelligence is already a big part of my life right now. Hey, Google, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. What can I help you with?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
So, I deal with artificial intelligence, technology, voice assistants every day. Every time, I might interact with artificial intelligence 10 to 20 times a day, minimum. 10 to 20 times a day, minimum. And that's just how much artificial intelligence is going to be a part of our world in the future. And Emily, if you're not interacting with artificial intelligence now, in 5 or 10 years, you'll be interacting with artificial intelligence maybe 100 times a day. I have no doubt. And so I think this debate is interesting and worthwhile. And I also have a philosophical bent in terms of my analytical thinking. And I'm curious to know what thinkers are talking about in this area. I'm just interested. I'm sort of curious about what's going on. and particularly in the realm of artificial intelligence, mainly because one of the events that I hope for soon that will happen is the advent of autonomous vehicles. I'm a big fan of autonomous vehicles, and I want those to. I want their use to be available all around the world, and certainly in the United States, as soon as possible, because I think it'll have a huge impact on our society, on global warming, um, just all kinds of things. So, really looking forward to autonomous vehicles and artificial intelligence, that will make that possible. I'm also an advocate of artificial intelligence in the medical fields, medical profession. Right now, they're using artificial intelligence to measure patterns in, say, the blood vessel pattern behind the retina to help give doctors information about diseases like Alzheimer's disease and diseases that affect your vision. And I think they're already using artificial intelligence in cancer research, and I think that they're going to be using artificial intelligence when it comes to maybe even blood analysis. And so this is a really exciting field that's, I think, exploding right now. It's definitely a wave of the future. I mean, I even deal with, artificial intelligence is going to be around permanently, and it's going to be everywhere. And anyway, I'm super excited about it. And so I'm happy to attend this debate tomorrow, sponsored by the Allen Hancock College Science and Engineering Club, a club which I am a member of, by the way. I need to interact with that club more often. Sometimes they have trips and outings. I think I want to participate more with them. They seem like a happening group. I'm also a part of the Allen Hancock College Vegan Club, or the Veg Club. And believe it or not, I have not been to any of the meetings this semester. I think the reason is because my schedule doesn't allow for it. I know that sometimes the meetings are held like on Tuesdays or Fridays, and so I don't get to find out about them. Or I don't get to attend them because of schedule conflicts. So let's see what else is going on in my life that you'd be interested in. Oh, look, the sun's already shining through my blinds. That's amazing. It's only 6:38 a.m. right now. That's fantastic. So I'm almost done with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm listening to the audiobook. And let me tell you, that is one stunner of a book. The end is filled with twists and turns. It's amazing. J.K. Rowling is an amazing writer. She pulls together a fantasy world. I think this is her best book, really. At least in terms of the complexity of the material, the complexity of the story, and also the surprises at the end. The twists and turns are just incredible. And it's also I think one of the most tragic stories, and also one of the most fear-inspiring stories. In fact, it's kind of funny is that, was it last night? No, it was the night before. I woke up from a bad dream as a result of, I think, having read Harry Potter's audiobook or listening to the audiobook. I had a bad dream. I was woken in the middle of the night because of it was some Harry Potter bad dream. I forget exactly what it was. But I have not woken up from a bad dream in years. It's been years. Well, maybe it hasn't been years, but it's been a long time. Particularly, I should say, let me caveat that with the idea that I haven't been woken up from a bad dream from media, like a movie or a book, in a long time. In fact, me waking up from a bad dream from a book is very, very rare. I have woken up from bad dreams that were triggered as a result of movies that I've watched. And then there's just regular life. Regular life. I've woken up from dreams like that have been triggered by just normal life. But this is I think the first time that I've ever been woken up from a bad dream triggered by an audiobook, which is pretty amazing. I mean, that just goes to show the power of J.K. Rowling's prose and the audiobook and how deeply I get into the audiobook narrative. So that's pretty cool. It's encouraging. To me, it's an indicator of just how engaging the book is and how interested I am in the subject matter. So, yeah, this is already the fourth book of Harry Potter. I think there might be 6 or 7 of them. So I'm going to keep my eye out for the next one. This Goblet of Fire audiobook, there's like 17 CDs. It's a lot of CDs. And I'm on the last CD. So in the next day or two, I'll be finishing that book. So that's awesome. I'll be able to graduate to the very next book. I love graduations. I love all kinds of graduations. I like graduations that are ceremonies as you transition from one phase to another. And I like the graduations on rulers, beakers, Erlenmeyer flasks, and cylinders, glass cylinders. Yeah, I love all kinds of graduations. I like graduations on college campuses and high school campuses, and I like graduations on rulers and laboratory glassware. Absolutely. I'm a big lover of graduations. Hail graduations. That's what I say. Oh boy. So let's see what else is going on. So I have this idea that I think I want to run in a triathlon. Now, there's a problem there. I actually don't own a bicycle, like a tri-bike or any kind of bicycle at all right now. And so that's getting me interested in this idea where I need to buy a bike. I need to start practicing because I don't know when the Lompoc Triathlon happens here in Lompoc, but I think it might be a fall type event. And so that'll give me time I'm actually already trained. I'm sufficiently healthy to do a 5K sprint triathlon or a sprint triathlon. And I'm sufficiently active. I train every day. Basically, I go to the gym every day. Regrettably, I will not be able to go to the gym today. I know. How tragic. I've been struggling most of the morning today trying to comprehend this idea about me not working out today. It's like, and the fact is I just have schedule conflicts around the noon hour, and I just can't make the time to go work out. Hopefully, maybe it'll rain out one of those activities and I'll have some time to do my stationary bike exercise today. We shall see how things work out. How Kronos, the time god, works out his things today. So, yeah. So what else is going on today? So today, I have an orthodontist appointment. See, I still have my braces on. And I'm looking forward to getting my braces adjusted. And I'm really looking forward to eventually getting these braces off my teeth. I've had these braces on my teeth for a long time now. It's already been 14 months. It's almost 15 months that I've had these braces on. Not quite there 15 months yet, but it has been 14 months and I'm ready. I'm ready to get these off my mouth. I'm definitely ready I was actually thinking about getting my teeth whitened too. So I'm really hoping that I can get all of this work done before May. March, April, May. I'd like to, because when I travel to New Mexico, I'd like to have some nice, shiny, bright, straight teeth and a nice smile instead of these braces. I don't know. Well, I've still got the shiny, bright smile. I just also have the braces too, right? So let's see what else is going on in my life. Believe it or not, I've got a lot of stuff going on. Like I'm trying welding for the first time tonight. And then tomorrow I'm going to the AI debate. And then, I'm also going to be going to Dance Spectrum, that Allen Hancock College dancing extravaganza. That's in 2 weeks. I think that's March 15th. And what's exciting about that is that I have a friend who's going to be participating in the dancing. So that's exciting. She, in fact, is my yoga teacher. And so that's neat. So I'm going to Dance Spectrum at Allen Hancock College. Also, well, you know what? I don't think it's at the Marion Theater. I think it's at a theater adjacent to the Marion. But it's in the same building as the Marion at Allen Hancock College in Santa Maria. So I also got this idea about possibly reading White Fang. I don't know if you're interested in this at all. Now, I know, Emily, that you have an interest in wolves, or at least you did have an interest in wolves a few years ago. I think you thought of them as being cuddly and cute and brave and awesome. And I too think that wolves are amazing. And I was thinking that, at least I wanted to suggest to you that we read a book together about wolves. And so I did download White Fang. Turns out White Fang is a free book. So why not? Why not download it and see what that book's all about? See if I can get. Now, I did read a summary of White Fang. That was written by Jack London. And personally, the story did not thrill me in summary fashion as the summarized version. It seemed to be really dark. Lots of starvation, lots of puppies dying. Like, I'm not going to be able to read this book. Apparently this is the way that books were written, early in the 20th century. And pretty grim. And that's not necessarily the kind of book I want to read, particularly if it's a fiction book. I'll read a grim nonfiction book if all the facts are true, right? But if it's just a story that I read for my own entertainment, I'm not sure why I'd want to subject myself to continuous thoughts about starving puppies. No, I would not want to. In fact, I debated quite a while even whether I would read White Fang. But I don't know. It's one of these classics in literature. I figured I'd at least give it a try. Run my eyes over a few pages of that story and see if I liked it. Here's the thing about writing, and prose over time, is that cultures change, right? Books become popular for reasons, who knows what reasons, and they become part of the canon that is sort of handed down to the next generation. And cultural themes, cultural mores change, and so cultural tastes change. And so today, I'm not so sure I want to read about struggling puppies, struggling dogs, but I guess that's at least in the past. I mean, I can see how the culture would be interested in a dog that is loyal to his tribe and or his pack, and who struggles and has virtues of bravery and courage. I can see how that can be an admirable story worth reading. 100 years ago. Today, I just want to read stories of fluffy puppies having fun. That's jumping around, um, and puppy laughing, puppy laughter. That's all. That's all the kind of books I want to read. I know. So banal, Miguel. Let's see. So I'm gonna try my hand at reading what White Fang a little bit. In fact, you know what? I could actually start reading that passage right now. I could, and we could give it a critique. I just right now we could do a little small critique. I'll read it like a few pages of it, and let's see if I could. Oh, you know what? It's not showing up. Here we go. That's funny. Ah, there it is. White Fang by Jack London. Okay, so it's downloading right now. It shouldn't take too long. Wow, that was fast. Okay, so we'll just start reading like the first one or two pages of White Fang by Jack London, and we'll see if this is a story that we want to read at all. Okay. So, part one, chapter one, the trial of the meat. Okay. I already think I don't want to read this. The trial of the meat. What kind of a chapter title is that? See, these are starving dogs. Okay, here we go. Let's not prejudge. Let's not judge a book by its cover, right? Okay, here we go. I think that's good advice. Dark spruce forest frowned on either side of the frozen waterway. The trees had been stripped by a recent wind of their white covering of frost, and they seemed to lean toward each other, black and ominous in the fading light. A vast silence reigned over the land. The land itself was a desolation, lifeless, without movement. So lone and cold that the spirit of it was not even that of sadness. There was a hint of it, there was a hint in it of laughter, but of a laughter more terrible than any sadness. A laughter that was mirthless as the smile of a sphinx. A laughter cold as the frost and partaking of the grimness of infallibility. It was the masterful and incommunicable wisdom of eternity laughing at the futility of life and the effort of life. It was the wild, the savage, frozen hearted Northland wild. But there was life, abroad in the land and defiant. Down the frozen waterway toiled a string of wolfish dogs. Their bristly fur was rimmed with frost. Their breath froze in the air as it left their mouths, spouting forth in spumes of vapor that settled upon the hair of their bodies and formed into crystals of frost. Leather harness was on the dogs, and leather traces attached them to a sled, which dragged along behind. The sled was without runners. It was made of stout birch bark, and its full surface rested on the snow. The front end of the sled was turned up like a scroll in order to force down and under the bore of soft snow that surged like a wave before it. On the sled, securely lashed, was a long and narrow oblong box. There were other things on the sled: blankets, an axe, and a coffee pot and frying pan. But prominent, occupying most of space, was the long and narrow oblong box. In advance of the dogs, on wide snowshoes, toiled a man. At the rear of the sled toiled a second man. On the sled, in the box, lay a third man whose toil was over, a man whom the wild had conquered and beaten down until he would never move nor struggle again. It is not the way of the wild to like movement. Life is an offense to it, for life is movement, and the wild aims always to destroy movement. It freezes the water to prevent it from running to the sea. It drives the sap out of the trees till they are frozen to their mighty hearts. And most ferociously and terribly of all does the wild harry and crush into submission man. Man who is the most restless of life, ever in revolt against the dictum that all movement must, in the end, come to the cessation of movement. Wow. Okay, this is actually looking pretty good. Okay. Wow, that is dramatic. Golly. Wow. It also has a philosophical take on some of nature. I especially like the descriptions, ample descriptions of what's going on, and but it is somewhat grim. It's grim. Yeah, I knew. I had thought, just by reading the summary, I thought, man, this is a grim book, and it sure is. Fascinating. The dark laughter. Boy, I tell you, this Jack London, I think he probably was depressed. Oh, I don't know anything about Jack London. I might have to read about him. I think Jack London has a library or some kind of memorial to him in San Francisco. And I also think he might have another library in Sonoma County. And so, those could be interesting places to take a field trip. That's a pretty good idea. So we'll see. I might start getting into this book. This sounds pretty interesting. He is talking about a sled with a coffin on it, with a third man who's lifeless and whose toil is over. Yeah. So, yeah, wow, that's grim, all right. So, anyway, it does sound like it might be fun, and so that's good. I hope it really gets into the psychology of the wolf, right? I hope it really talks about the wolf, and it gets wolfy. I'm looking for some wolfiness. Yeah. All right. So that was neat. So one of the books that I've been enjoying lately, actually I read it quite a while ago, was Happiness Makeover by MJ Ryan. And believe it or not, I'm not even through even half the highlights that I highlighted while I was reading the book. So let's get to it. Let's get to all these highlights that I highlighted. Okay, so on page 18 of this book by MJ Ryan called Happiness Makeover, I highlighted a passage, and the passage reads, "By working with what's standing in our way, we clear the road to discover the happiness hidden in our ordinary days." So I'll read that quote again. It says, "By working with what's standing in our way, we clear the road to discover the happiness hidden in our ordinary days." First of all, I like that sentence. but I don't quite understand it. Let's move on to the next highlight. So I finally met. Oh, here we go. Question. This is on page 21. I highlighted this passage, and the passage reads, "You draw to you whatever you spend time thinking about." So I think this is true. That you draw to you whatever you spend time thinking about. Yeah. You know what this is? This is the secret. You know that this is what is also called. I forget what it's called, but yeah, you draw to you what you spend time thinking about. You know, I really like that how that sentence is phrased. You draw to you. I get this feeling that I'm drawing in a boat, say on a rope, you know, and I'm focusing on it and I'm bringing it toward me. You know, that's what I want. And it's drawing closer and it's drawing closer slowly. Um, you know, I think that's really appropriate. You know, it's true. As human beings, not only do we become what we focus on, but we also draw to us those things in the world that we focus on. And I think that's true. You know, interestingly enough, um, I was just thinking about how, you know, it turns out I think about you quite frequently. And I'm just realizing, just by reading this passage, that is a way to draw you and me closer. And I mean, what that tells me too is there must be some sort of mismatch between the amount of thinking I do about you and the amount of thinking you do about me. That's perfectly okay. But what I'm recognizing is, oh, there's probably a mismatch there. So that's just an analytical observation. So, you know, it's entirely appropriate that you spend a lot of time thinking about your family and thinking about your school and your friends. You know, that's what teenagers do. That's what people do who are engaged in their lives. And that's great. And I'm essentially trying to edge into that thought space a little bit, edge into that mind space a little bit, just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, just a sliver. I'm just asking for a sliver, Em, just a sliver. So, yeah, you draw in what you think about. And, you know, that's a really deep thought because it sort of is illuminating. In my mind, it's very illuminating. You draw to you whatever you spend time thinking about. You know, it makes me think about my past, like how I was interested in science. I got that degree in physics, and then I got that degree in business, and then I got that credential in safety, and then I'm continuing to go to school, and I am drawing to me things I'm thinking about. Like I was interested in just working with my hands in different ways, right? And so I've taken some classes related to that at Allen Hancock College. I took an auto mechanics class. I took a sewing machine class. I took a machining class where I learned how to use the lathe and the mill. And now I'm taking a welding class. I'm still continuing to work with my hands and getting better with sort of manipulating objects and working with different equipment and different industries. And I think I'm going to continue doing that. You know, I just need to become a little bit more balanced. You know, a lot of my life has been pretty analytical. You know, my background in physics indicates that my focus in the past has been mainly numbers, right? Mathematics, philosophical ideas, right? And I think I want to move away from that. I want to get more reality oriented. You know, these objects in my world, in the external world, I'd like to focus a little bit more on them, how to manipulate them, how to use tools effectively. And, for me, these are practical skills. Like I've learned how to change my oil, I've learned how to, I don't know, change a fuel filter on a vehicle. I've changed spark plugs before. I know how to change, air filters on my car. I've I've even changed the front axle of a Honda. I know, with help, with a group of friends, and that's good. And I've also, you know, I know how to sew, and I've got a sewing machine that's functional and working. Well, partly the embroidery part of the machine is not working right now, but I've got machines all over, and so basically, I'm drawing into my life just these practical skills, and I'm loving it. There's so many practical skills to learn. In fact, I could spend the rest of my life learning practical skills and still not. There's no way that I'd be able to finish learning all the practical skills. So I like the practical skills because they're actually quite motivational. Like, this fact that I'm learning how to weld means that if I ever have an interest in producing artwork by attaching sheets of metal together, I can do that, right? And in fact, I think art by itself is all about using tools. If you think about it, drawing is a skill relating to using a pencil as a tool. You could also think about it in more abstract forms. For example, you can think of computer programming as using a computer as a tool. Sure, why not? You can even think of doing math as a way to use logic as a tool, right? The laws of non-contradiction. So I guess I'm extending that metaphor a little bit too far. I'm extending that idea, I should say, a little bit too far about using tools. In the end, it might be appropriate to say that any thinking that I do at all is all about me using my brain as a tool. So now I've taken it as far as I can take it, I think. And that is, okay, Miguel, every skill is about using tools in the material world. Now, I guess what I'm really talking about is manual dexterity, right? Manual skills, being handy. I would love to take a woodworking class, and I'd love to take a class in electricity, and I'd love to take a class in plumbing. Yeah, and even construction. I'd be happy to take a construction job and learn how to hammer nails into 2x4s. Although I've done that before. I did that when I was a kid. My dad is a general building contractor. And he continues to build homes. He's like 71, 72 years old right now. And he's still building homes. He's got, I think, one home he's building now. I think he might be building 2 homes right now. So, I wonder how things are going. It's been so wet this season. Here's the thing. When you're building a home out of wood and it rains a lot, that's a problem because the wood can at times be unprotected, particularly when you're just beginning and you don't have the roof on top. And so it can get awful wet out there, and you start hydrating that wood and it begins to warp, and that can become a real problem. Anyway, let's move on to the next passage. But you know what? Actually, I want to talk a little bit more about this passage. It is such a powerful passage that has so many implications. This again is on page 21, and the passage reads, "You draw to you whatever you spend your time thinking about." This is one of the most powerful rules. Now, here's the thing. Even if you spend a lot of time thinking about something, there's no guarantee that you will receive what you're thinking about. But the chances are increased, that's for sure. And, I think when it comes to a situation like that, where there's no guarantee that you'll receive the thing that you're focusing on, I think it's important that the process of focus is something that that you focus on that something in a way that benefits you. Yeah, that you receive secondary benefits from the focus. Um, you know, here's the case. It may not be that all the focusing I do on our relationship and our connection ever result in any benefit, in any in any progress. That could be the case. So in a way, I have to, focus on the secondary benefits. Recognizing that, making videos like this, where I'm in conversation with you, that there are benefits that I will accrue whether or not you just decide to spend some time with me or visit with me. I get to enjoy the pleasure of YouTube live broadcasting and getting used to broadcasting, getting used to, presenting myself in front of a camera, getting used to having conversations with others. It helps me develop my communication skills. I am able to become accustomed with using a microphone and using lighting the scene. And, I get to develop skills related to video editing. So, there are a lot of secondary benefits that I can reap, even if the primary goal is never achieved. So, that's basically how you overcome adversity, right? You focus in other areas. This is what overcoming adversity is all about. It's about recognizing that you can draw happiness from almost anything. And, you may not ever achieve your goal, which would be, say, the primary way that you are seeking to become more happy. But in the process of achieving that goal, those sub-steps, those activities, the behaviors, the skills you develop can also bring you happiness. So it's win-win. It's win-win. It's win if a person reaches their goal and fulfills their desire that they hope to achieve. And even if I can't fulfill my main goal, there are secondary goals that I can benefit from sort of in the process of achieving that goal. That's what we are all talking about when it comes to enjoying the process. When people talk about enjoying the process to achieving goals, they are really talking about enjoying these incremental activities that lead up to the goal itself. And, to do that, it requires perspective, right? It is thoughtfulness, perspective, sort of a recognition of what you enjoy. It's also, there's some element of gratitude, right? Gratitude for the activities that support you achieving your goal. And that can sustain you. That could sustain you in the long term. So other things, other benefits, side benefits that I'm accruing and enjoying while I'm reaching out to you are, formulating text messages that are useful and make sense. I'm getting practice with that. Also, I send periodic videos using text, and what that means is I've been able to produce and edit 3-minute videos using Apple's iMovie app, and I'm really enjoying that app. Again, these are benefits that I'm accruing on a regular basis for me, sort of in the process of reaching out to you. So, it's for me, it's a way that I can sustain my happiness and help prop up my mood. And, in the same way, it is also a way to help me sort of it empowers me to be happier day to day, while I'm moving toward the goal of greater connection with you. So that's wonderful. Also photography is another good example. I'm taking a lot of photographs, and I am publishing those photographs on photo paper. And I'm also getting really good at mailing letters, and that's awesome. And so anyway, as for me, this is the process of unfolding, the process of development, personal development, and growth as I'm reaching out to you to enhance our connection. So not only is my intent virtuous, and I get to enjoy pride in the actions that I take to get closer to you, but also I learn from engaging in those actions. So for me, it's a win-win. It's a win-win. I can't lose. And, I'm glad that perspective exists. I'm glad that it's possible. It makes me wonder too, what other goals might I try to achieve? And how can I use this perspective to help me along the path to achieving those goals? Here's the thing about being alive. There's just so much freedom. There's almost an excess of freedom being a person alive on the planet as a human being. Today's society and culture, our civilization has advanced so much that, I could easily, if I wanted to, transport myself to the other side of the world by tomorrow. I could do it. And wouldn't that be an amazing thing to do? But, would it truly make me happy? I'm not sure about that. Although it would be nice to take a vacation to Hawaii. I tell you, I love those tropical destinations. So, yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, and really, now that I think about it, I gain so much secondary benefit. If I really sat down and thought about it, I think it makes sense to not just acknowledge the secondary benefit, say on a scale from 1 to 10, and appreciate its value. But those secondary benefits, what if I amplified those secondary benefits a little bit, right? Is it in my power, through my narrative, through my focus, to just really enjoy the secondary benefits? That's what gratitude's all about, right? I think as a goal today, what I'm going to do is I am going to attempt to increase the gratitude that I have in just everyday pleasures by 10%. Increase the focus and the gratitude and the enjoyment of just what's going on in my daily life by 10%. And I wonder if that will have any kind of significant effect on my outlook or my mood or my perspective. I think it might. I think it might be significant, just 10%. I think this is making me think a little bit about wine tasting, right? I guess there are two kinds of wine tasters. I can imagine a wine taster. Well, first of all, I can imagine 100 people tasting the same wine. So, and then I can imagine those 100 people with the same experiences coming away from that experience in different ways. I mean, I can imagine someone who's really enthusiastic about wine tasting, tasting that wine and just being just really deeply appreciating and maybe in love with the wine that they're tasting, right? It brings them joy and happiness. And then I could think of another wine taster who, in a more, say, what I'd call, well, in a fashion that is less focused on the pleasure of wine tasting, just saying, meh, meh, you know. And I asked myself, which person would I like to be? And I think I'd like to be the one who is just in love with wine tasting as they're wine tasting. If I had a choice, I think I'd be the one. I'd like to be the one who's in love with wine tasting. So, what is sort of the contrasting behavior between the two? Well, I think the one who says meh when they do wine tasting, they are not doing a lot of thinking about the wine. They're not drawing the wine close. But the person who is loving the wine that they're drinking, they probably have a lot to say about it. They're probably talking to not only to themselves about the wine that they're drinking, but they're talking to other people. And they're talking using words that extol the virtues of the wine that they're drinking. Yeah. The extolling the virtues, not only the virtues, but the strengths of the wine. They even might be appreciating some of the weaknesses of the wine and thinking through about why the weaknesses are there, providing explanation, greater meaning, right? It's not just about enjoyment. It's about meaning. It's about exploration. It's about learning, and it's continual. And it's, how does a person who tastes wine, how do they more fully enjoy the wine tasting experience? They might be interested in pairing that wine with some other foods. They may be interested in just the environment, the immediate environment. Maybe they're focused on the lighting, or they're focused on ventilation, or maybe they're focused on whether music is being played in the background. Maybe they're focused on who they're doing the wine tasting with. Maybe they're also focused on the decor of the wine tasting room. So, yeah, I think the wine taster is drinking in more than just the wine. The wine taster who's really enjoying the wine tasting is drinking in everything, every experience, and every experience that they can about the wine tasting. And not only thinking about these things, but expressing those things. Yeah. I want to be a robust wine taster. I want to be a grateful wine taster. But that is just a metaphor for regular life, right? Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me, helping me work out some of these ideas that I'm focused on. Thank you for being a part of my life. It is true that despite your distance, despite our separation, I still reap a lot of meaning from our relationship, even if it is just our genetic relationship, our familial bloodline relationship. I appreciate it. And I enjoy thinking about it and entertaining the ideas surrounding it. And I get a lot of pleasure and meaning and enjoyment from us as a pair, as a father-daughter pair. And I want to relay that to you. I want to let you know that the fact of your existence brings me great happiness. And how it's not dependent. That happiness is not dependent on your actual behavior. That's what true love is all about, right? It's about unconditional. It's unconditional, and I just am so thankful that I have the opportunity to enjoy unconditional love. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, girl. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye and peace.